Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like there has to be more going on than what we can see? Like maybe life isn't as random as it seems. What if I told you that modern science, like real Nobel Prize winning science, is actually showing us that reality isn't fixed and that your attention, your feelings, even your thoughts might shape the world around you? Insane, right? But before you dismiss the idea and say this girl's crazy, I beg you to stay with me because today we're diving into the mind-blowing world of quantum science and how it might just prove something that ancient mystics, spiritual teachers, and even your super intuitive best friend have been saying for years. You create your own reality. This is something I'm extremely passionate about because it changed my life. And I know if you keep an open mind and stick around, it can do the same for you. And trust me, I know how hard this can be to take in and even harder to believe. It took me 40 years to truly understand the concept of it all. Even though I had always been told to pay close attention to your thoughts because your thoughts become things, and I knew it was important and played a role in my life, it wasn't until I saw the evidence and the details for myself before I had my huge aha moment. I honestly call it the start of my new life because up until then I felt like I'd been lied to. We're told our whole lives that we're nothing but physical beings and we basically have to deal with everything life throws at us and we don't have much control at all. Once I truly let it sink in, I view life in a whole new light. I became way more selective about the information I exposed myself to what movies I watched, to what books I read. I began guarding my thoughts like my life depended on it, because in reality, it truly does. I'll apologize up front for all the details and facts I'm going to share in this video, because I'm not trying to bore you to death. I believe the more evidence you are exposed to, the easier it will be to accept this new reality. The world isn't what it looks like. Let's start at the basics, something we're all familiar with: atoms. Everything around you is made up of atoms. I know, that's not new information. However, what you were taught about atoms, that it's physical matter and it takes up space, well, that's simply a lie. It turns out atoms are mostly empty space. In 1909, Ernest Rutherford did a famous experiment where he shot tiny alpha particles at a thin sheet of gold foil. Most of them went straight through like ghosts walking through a wall. But a few bounced off, meaning there was a dense center, which we now call the nucleus. So picture an atom like a big balloon with a teeny speck of sand at the very center and electrons zooming around it. Most of it is empty. So the chair you're sitting on, it only feels solid, but really, it's mostly space and energy. Particles can be in two places at once. Okay, so now we get into the juicy stuff. Bear with me. The double-slit experiment. This one was done in the early 1800s by Thomas Young, but it became way more famous when physicists like Richard Feynman broke it down in the 20th century. Here's what happened. Scientists took a board with two slits and shot tiny particles like electrons at it. Behind the slits was a screen to catch where the electrons landed. The electrons created a pattern that looked like waves, like ripples on water, called an interference pattern. And it suggests each electron went through both slits at once. Like, how's that possible? But then when scientists added a detector to observe which slit the electron actually went through, the interference pattern disappeared. The electrons started behaving like particles again, going through one slit or the other. Just observing them changed what they did. So what does this mean? Particles exist in a state of possibilities until they are observed. And the observation collapses those possibilities into one outcome. This is called the observer effect. Everything is energy. You've probably heard this one. E = mc squared. Albert Einstein. In 1905, what he discovered is that mass, all stuff, and energy are basically the same thing, just in different forms. So everything that looks like matter is actually vibrating energy. Even light, which seems like a wave, is made of little packets called photons. Einstein proved that in his work on the photoelectric effect, which earned him the Nobel Prize. Picture this, billions of tiny energy blips glowing and dancing, forming your entire world. That's the universe. So when people say everything is energy, they're not being woo-woo, they're being accurate. The The universe is connected, like really connected. Quantum entanglement is what Einstein famously called spooky action at a distance. Here's how it works. Take two particles that interact and then separate them. Even by miles, if you change one, the other reacts instantly, like twins finishing each other's sentences from across the globe. Scientists have done this experiment again and again, starting as early as the 1980s. But in 2022, 3 scientists even won the Nobel Prize for proving quantum entanglement is real. This isn't just a theory, it's science. Reality might be a projection. Now we get into the mind-bending stuff, the holographic principle. Physicists like Jared Hooft and Leonard Susskind propose that everything we see in 3D might actually be encoded on a 2D surface, like a hologram. This came from studying black holes. They found that the amount of information in a region of space seems to relate to the surface area, not the volume. It's like the universe's one giant cosmic IMAX. Imagine you're watching a 3D movie, but the film is flat. That might be our reality. Every choice might create a new universe. Let's talk about the many worlds interpretation, proposed by Hugh Everett III in 1957. This theory says that every time a quantum event happens, all possible outcomes happen in separate universes. So if you choose coffee instead of tea, there's another version of you sipping tea in a parallel world. It sounds like science fiction, but it's built on the very real math of quantum mechanics. So what does this mean for you? All of this brings us to something powerful. If reality is made of energy, and energy responds to observation, and observation creates outcomes, then your focus matters, your intention matters, your thoughts, emotions, and choices, they shape your experience of reality. Feel that truth settle in your chest. Let this idea echo in your mind. I am not powerless, I'm a creator. Picture your reality like paint swirling on a canvas and you hold the brush. You don't have to be a scientist to live this truth, just someone curious enough to try. So, can you really create your own reality? Not like magic, but kind of like quantum magic. Your emotions shift your energy, your focus narrows infinite possibilities. Your beliefs influence what paths you see and which ones stay hidden. You might not control everything, but you co-create your experience. And guess what? You've been doing it all along. You're not here by accident. You're part of something infinite, and you're waking up to it. If you stuck around this long, please leave me a comment below and let me know your thoughts. If you'd heard this before, if you think I'm crazy, what questions you may have. You're not broken, you're becoming. I'll see you next time.